Hello everyone and welcome to Game Day Analyst. Today we'll be taking a look at the UFC 298 main event. Alexander the Great Volkanovski versus Ilia El Matador Topuria ahead of their featherweight showdown this Sunday. We'll be covering 4 main points of the fight, such as Volkanovski's fight IQ, Ilia Topuria's power, both men's weaknesses, and then comparing the statistics, so that we can get a better understanding of who really has the advantages going into this fight and what we can expect to see. So without any further ado, let's get started. First off, we'll be taking a look at Alexander Volkanovski's fight against Yair Rodriguez at UFC 290. The first clip I want to discuss is in round 1, around about the 3-minute 30 mark. Alexander Volkanovski throws a nice leg kick against Yair, but Yair also throws a body kick at the same time. Volkanovski follows his lead leg through, meaning it connects with Yair's back leg. However, at the same time, Volkanovski catches Yair's body kick. This allows him to shoot straight into a double leg takedown. In round 3, throws a nice combo with a right hand followed by a left uppercut which connects on Volk's chin, followed by another right hand, and then again finishes off with a leg kick where he leaves his right side completely open. Seconds later, Volk throws an inside leg kick which Yair counters with a nice 1-2. Volk tries to throw his check hook, but he's out of range, and Yair follows up with a nice jab and a head kick combo which lands. However, Volk throws a really nice inside leg kick again. This time, he leans back to avoid the counter from Yair and then comes back into range to throw his right hook, as Yair throwing his body kick, catching him off guard, leading to Volk taking him down and ground and pounding his way to his 5th title defense. The main point we learned from this is that Ilia is not going to be able to throw the same combos over and over again because Volkanovski's fight IQ is too high and he'll get countered. This is exactly what happened with Yair Rodriguez. He kept finishing off his combinations with kicks, which wasn't the issue, it was that he was doing it repeatedly in sequence. The last 3 clips I talked about happened right after each other. He didn't mix it up. He threw the same thing over and over again. Volk figured it out and countered him. If Topuria wants any chance of winning this fight, he cannot do that. He really has to mix it up. Possibly the biggest talking point between the matchup between Volkanovski and Ilia Topuria is Topuria's power. Oftentimes in his fights, he only needs one good shot to put you out. In an early exchange, Topuria parries Mitchell's front kick and responds with a nice right hand, then fires a left hook after, which Mitchell avoids, and then Topuria finishes with another good right hand, which lands nicely. However, as you can see here, Topuria was very off balance. Later in the fight, he gets back into the pocket with Bryce and fires a nice uppercut, followed by a left hook that just misses, and finishes off the combo with a beautiful straight right hand that drops Mitchell, and Topuria later finishes off the fight with an arm triangle. Another example is Topuria's fight against Herbert. This is where the fight ending sequence from Topuria. He slips the jab, tries to connect with the right hand but fails, then throws a good lead hook to the body whilst eating a left hook from Herbert, and then comes over the top with the right hand, landing flush on Herbert's chin, knocking him out. Topuria has some serious power, which is not without its weaknesses, which we'll talk about later in the video. But Topuria, if he lands on Volk, he can really hurt him. When we talk about Volkanovski's weaknesses, not a lot of things come to mind very easily. However, one of his biggest weaknesses is his vulnerability to head kicks. Most people are very aware of this after UFC 294, but Volkanovski has always had a weakness tracking all the way back to his first professional loss in May of 2013 to Corey Nelson, and most notable at UFC 294. To get a better understanding of this, let's go back to UFC 290 against Yair Rodriguez. In round 3, we see Rodriguez blitz forward with a left hook and a roundhouse to the head, which Volk blocks with one hand. When we observe this, we notice that Yair's foot actually wraps around the head of Volkanovski, meaning this definitely hurt Volkanovski at least a little bit. Again, in round 3, we see Yair Rodriguez throw a head kick, which Volk shoulder rolls, taking away the impact, but it still lands. One plus side to this, however, is that Ilia Topuria often doesn't really utilize kicks and tends to stick with boxing. Now, one thing I would also like to address, which isn't so much of a weakness but more of a talking point, is Volk's chin. After a shock knockout loss to Islam, we don't know if Volk's chin is going to be the same. As I've stated with the head kicks, we don't know if one shot could put Volkanovski away. When we look at Topuria's main weaknesses, it is closely related to his strengths, which is his power. However, the issue is that Topuria gets incredible power, but he does it by loading up on every shot, making his punches more telegraphed and more dangerous. He gets away with it with Bryce Mitchell, where he throws a big left hand that comes all the way down to his knee and is then thrown. Mitchell sees this coming and ducks underneath, causing Topuria to fall forward into the cage. If this happens against Volkanovski, he may not have the luxury to be able to escape scot-free, since Volkanovski's fight IQ and speed are much superior to Topuria's. And not only that, but when Topuria falls into the fence, like I said before, Mitchell doesn't punish Topuria for it. However, someone like Volkanovski won't hesitate. Another example of this is against Jai Herbert. 40 seconds into their fight, Topuria slips Herbert's right hand and counters with his own. However, when Ilia Topuria tries to follow up with a left hand, he completely drops his right and leaves his chin in the air and gets hit with a big head kick and gets dropped. However, credit to Topuria for not getting finished. However, Topuria does the exact same thing again in the last 30 seconds of the first round. He presses Herbert forward and throws a right hook and then a left hand and an overhand right. Now, when Topuria throws his overhand right, his head and chin are both down, which means he is hard to counter. But when he throws his hooks, he explodes upwards and drops his opposite hand, leaving his chin wide open. In the finishing sequence of the fight, he slips Herbert's jab and counters with an overhand right. Then he follows up with a lead body hook. Again, he drops his opposite hand and gets hit with a big left hook from Herbert. He eats it and then fires the fight-ending right hand against Herbert once again, reminding us about his awesome power, but also him dropping his opposite hand. When we compare the statistics of Volkanovski versus Topuria, we have to first acknowledge a few things, such as the fact that Volkanovski has had many more fights against people who are very high caliber fighters. Topuria has had fewer fighters against guys who aren't exactly world champion caliber. This means the statistics such as strike accuracy and strike defense aren't as comparable. Volk has thrown thousands more strikes than Topuria and also received thousands more. First off, the real basic stats. Volk has a 181.61 reach versus Ilia Topuria's 175, so he will enjoy a pretty decent reach advantage. Volk is 3 centimeters shorter than Topuria, with Volk standing at 167 centimeters and Ilia at 170. Volk's leg reach is 91 centimeters and Ilia Topuria's is 94, which means even though Ilia doesn't throw leg kicks, if he does, he has an extra whole 3 centimeters to work with. The first point of interest when observing the statistics is the average fight time for both fighters. Volkanovski's average fight time is 16 minutes and 18 seconds, whilst Topuria's is 10 minutes and 17 seconds. This is interesting, mainly because of Topuria's part, since we know that Volk can fight a 5-round fight very well with good pacing and great pressure. However, Topuria has only ever had one 5-round bout that was against Josh Emmett going the distance. Now, I won't make too many assumptions because one fight isn't enough to draw any conclusions. But it does mean that if the fight does go to rounds 4 and 5, Volkanovski will have a giant advantage. Looking at significant strikes, we notice that Volkanovski lands almost 2 significant strikes more per minute with 6.19 compared to Ilia's 4.44, and lands them at a higher percentage compared to Topuria, with Volkanovski landing at a 57% rate and Ilia Topuria's at a 46%. Volk also absorbs 0.37 more strikes per minute and has a lower strike defense than Ilia, with Volk having 58% and Ilia having 67%. Now, the main difference between them statistically is the grappling. Volk averaging only 1.84 takedowns per 15 minutes and Ilia averaging 2.19. Ilia also has a much higher takedown accuracy than Volk, sitting at 56% compared to Volk's 37%. Ilia also has a staggering 92% takedown defense rate, with Volk having a solid 70%. After running the numbers, watching the film, and studying the fights, we can definitely say that this fight is going to be an absolute banger. We've seen both men's weaknesses and their strengths. This is guaranteed to be a very high level, high caliber fight, possibly one of Volk's biggest fights yet. However, in my personal opinion, when it comes to result, I think Volkanovski will get the win in round 4 with the KO TKO. This is mainly because if it does go into the later rounds, Volkanovski knows what he's doing. He's got much more experience. He's fought a lot more high-level people than Topuria has, and I do think he does have the advantage in that sense. Hopefully you all enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys later.